Thumbnail. This sword. Inspired folks. Hold on. This is a thumbnail. Where's my
sugar? Did the Agust D track bring out
He never did this for
Jarek J? What's up, Army? Welcome back to Redemption 46 Studios. I'm Nick.
I'm Curtis.
I'm Jarek.
And I'm absent.
Y'all know the vibes. Y'all saw the picture. Y'all saw the thumbnail. Y'all know why y'all here. Agust D. Agust D.
Who?
Agust D. Pause.
Do it again.
Do it again. Agust D. People Part 2. Featuring IU.
There we go.
This is your first time on the channel. Hit that subscribe button and become a real redeemer today.
Hit it or I'm
Hit it.
slicing somebody's neck
Hit it
off.
because 70% of y'all watching this aren't subscribed, and I don't know why. This is the best reaction on YouTube. Hit that. Become a real redeemer today. Also, for more content like this, jump on the Patreon. If you love Suge, all the Stetchy Top episodes are up on there, except for I think like 2, but we're gonna be getting into that. The Agust D stuff will be coming as far as the D1 and D2 full album reviews. At the end of the month when the album drops, we're going to be doing an album review for D-Day. Sugar's outside. He's not to be fucked with. Hip-hop is back. IU is a queen. I hope so.
Is it offensive to call him Sugar?
Sugar.
Sugar.
Well, ironically, ain't shit sweet. Like I started inserting the black meme. Okay. So.
Director chair?
Like, you can marry me.
So tell me, you're Friday.
We got one, Army. Already?
You know everything is wrong. So tell me, you're Friday to go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
사랑이라는 말 어쩌면 순간의 감정의 날 조건이 붙지 않은 무얼 사랑하는 충분히 사랑받지 못한 너희 그래서 무엇보다 신중한 타입 나는 나를 원해 진중한 사이 알잖아 영원은 못했어 잔잔한 파도에도 힘없이 쉽게 무너져 상실은 무엇 때문에 슬픈 걸까 사실은 두려운 게 슬픈 거야 두려운 게 슬픈 거야 So far away
Youngie!
Getting far away
All rounder.
That was beautiful.
He dropping vocals from niggas now.
You've been taking them lessons.
So tell me, you're Friday to go. I know you know
Great lighting, too.
everything is wrong. So tell me, you're Friday to go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
당신은 무엇 때문에 슬픈 걸까 사실은 두려움이 큰 거죠 함께 미래 그리던 우리 눈 웃고 싸운 모든 성들을 부셔버린 것은 우린 걸 승패가 없는 게임이라지만 난 언제나 게임 루저 모든 걸 주겠다던 우린 모든 것을 push 그리고 떠나지 사랑이던 사람이든 모두가 이기적이기 때문이야 So far away
Aw, his vocals kind of fucking different.
A doggy.
Like it sound bassy too.
Too far away
His voice is beautiful.
I know I have to know yeah.
So tell me, you're Friday to go. I know you know everything is wrong. So tell me, you're Friday to go. Nobody doesn't know anymore.
떠가는 사랑 떠가는 사랑 사랑의 끝은 과연 무엇일까
Hip hop, man.
수많은 사람 스쳐간 사람 사랑은 사랑으로 완벽할까 그래 나의 이타적인 게 어쩌면 되려 이기적이네 널 위해 한다는 말은 곧 내 욕심이기에 욕심을 버리면 행복해질 채우지 못한 반쪽짜리 허사 삶은 저항과 복종 사이의 싸움이라는데 내가 보기에는 외로움들과의 싸움이네 눈물이 터져 나오면 그대 울어도 돼 당신은 사랑받기에도 이미 충분한데
Sometimes yeah, not right go. I know you know anything is no. Sometimes yeah, not right
You look so happy.
Nobody doesn't know anymore. Yeah.
Bars.
It's a beautiful last shot too.
대부분 다
Hip hop.
뭐 사람들한테 전달하고 싶은 이야기도 있지만 나 자신한테 이야기를 하는 것처럼 들린다라는 이야기를 많이 들었거든요. 사실이기도 하고요. 그때 당시에 코로나로 여러 가지 것들을 할 수 없을 때
He on that gym and shit. It's like to get these COVID bars
모든
off.
것을 잃어버렸다라고 생각을 했을 때 썼던 곡이기 때문에 나 자신한테 되게 해주고 싶었던 이야기였습니다.
Love that he added that at the end.
Legendary. Legend. We're so proud of you, Yugi. Super proud of you. This was a bop, man. Make sure y'all subscribe. Hip hop is back. I love this. This has those nostalgic feels. This is what it feels like when Method Man jumped on the track with Mary J. Blige. You got that same type of sensation.
Sensational.
IU too. I think her whole drum was all English as well. Like the whole chorus. Her voice was phenomenal. She's a SK sweetheart, the voice of the nation.
Yeah, she has a
Lovely.
great voice.
Yeah, it was God tier. Yugi poured his soul into this. This felt good, man. This actually too was a sound not like that I didn't know I would get from him, but something that where it's like this a wheelhouse I would like kind of love to see him in. It's almost like well, not as fast because I was about to say we was talking about Eminem prior to this, and I used to think about all the times he used to jump on tracks with Rihanna, but the tempo would be like a little bit faster than this. But it's always those good pairings when you have like the God tier rapper and a God tier like vocalist or R&B person like on a track and they come together.
Even after the So Far Away or Too Far Away, like how they were saying that, is, you know, kind of throwback to their track.
Yeah, and I like that a lot because their pairing's been amazing so far. Because like you just said, that track is God tier in itself.
The fact that they're both like seem like they're really hard to like get a track from, if that makes sense. That you know they were able to collab multiple times is really great too.
Yeah, this is some music royalty where it's kind of hard to get them on tracks unless they really fuck with you. So the fact that they have multiple songs together bodes very well. But yeah, man, I like this a lot. This is a download for me. This is something I feel like you can dump in the car and everything too. And with the way, like I said, all her part was in English and everything, this seems like this would be very quote unquote like radio friendly over here as well. To where if you was in a store, you'd just be like, you know, shopping, doing shit or whatever, and it'd be background music. I feel like it'd be really good for that too. But yeah, how y'all feel?
Definitely agree. Song was definitely a super vibe. I feel like the video was exactly what this song was giving. Like, just a chill day, and he was showing it like whether he was writing, he was sitting by the poolside, or just laying down listening to music. That's really what this song is, like just that type of vibe. The bars in this was actually crazy. Like at the end, I don't remember, it was like heart half filled can never be fulfilled. It was like, damn, that is kind of true. Definitely killed it. This part was definitely a scene like I can see myself like that 10 times out of the day. Just sitting there listening to music on a poolside probably. This video and song was a whole vibe. I liked it a lot. Definitely a download.
I feel like he in the Wu-Tang mansion.
In the basement.
That's definitely a
I
vibe.
swear to God, I feel like the vibe. He's at the pool.
Yeah.
He's in the recording studio, joint. People are like, we don't watch the show, we don't get it.
You don't know what you're talking about?
Shut up.
Oh, a half illusion that can never be fulfilled. It's like, damn, that is true.
How do you feel?
This was nice. It's a good little song. I do have to agree with Zach. I would definitely like to be in that environment by myself, you know. You can tell This is
Bless your soul.
Thank you.
him throughout the COVID times. You know, I'm pretty sure that's how we all were, just walking around, just
Chilling.
just chilling, yeah, just trying to figure out what's
What
next.
to do.
He's definitely a journalist because he hit us with this nice little after credit Q&A. That's cool. I like that. I like seeing his documentary or journalistic approach to things. It's almost as if every verse is like its own, newspaper like article. He's documenting something but also telling you something. So that was kind of cool. He has a very interesting approach to how he raps. That was nice.
Interestingly enough, he does have a documentary coming out for the album. So.
Mm-hmm. It should be interesting to see what the whole album is going to be about because, him bringing up the COVID thing was interesting just because, Jimin's whole thing was kind of how he felt about that as well. But I do wonder what D-Day is going to touch on as far as, where does this track lay within, the track list? What is it all going to speak about and kind of, all that.
And knowing that it's also a part 2.
You said when is it dropping?
Where is it dropping? On YouTube or Disney Plus?
I think his. What you talking about? The documentary, John? Or
I would assume Disney Plus.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because I seen the.
So I believe Hobie had one for his album and everything.
5,000 likes. I'll cheat and watch it.
We get 5,000. If we get 5,000 likes, we'll drop it.
Before.
So y'all heard him, guys. Y'all heard him.
5,000.
Yeah, I thought this was really beautiful, especially too knowing that this is a part 2 and everything, and just knowing that he had collabed with IU before. Granted, at this present time, I don't know kind of what exactly everything was with part 1, but knowing what we had seen of how Agust D has been represented within his album so far and everything, and what we know of D2 leading into that, just knowing kind of the dark journey that he really had to take. And kind of go through with everything. So to see him really in this place where, it's, mind you, this isn't something that he's crediting the song as Suga or Yoongi or anything like that specifically. He's crediting it as Agust D. So it's the fact that we're not seeing, the blonde hair and the scarred eye and this, he's representing the persona as Yoongi himself or as Suga. And I really love that because it shows that essentially your shadow self, no pun intended, has gone through that journey of healing as opposed to just balancing kind of between the two. It seems like there's more of a harmony. And even in the video when they showed Suge drinking the coffee or whatever, it showed the shadow right behind him doing the same, but it basically showed the shadows at peace too, or is not with as much turmoil. But it's strange because...
And the shadow was more in the forefront than it was in the behind him, but it seemed like it got more camera time.
Oh yeah. And it's interesting kind of how they went about balancing everything like that. So I thought that was incredible, and just the use of kind of slow dolly shots too that I like because I know me and you, Nick, had talked about this with Fincher at the end of Panic Room, specifically when characters are kind of in a box or claustrophobic in a sense. When you use a dolly zoom, not to belittle them in the frame, but to actually open the world around them, it kind of has a opposite end of the spectrum sort of effect where depending on the way you look at it, it can mean two very different things.
Which is good to use too, not to cut you off, but
no, absolutely.
Him talking about COVID-19 during that time, like you said, your world opening up or closing, depending on how you're looking at it.
Yeah.
So
it's incredible kind of balancing that. And I like that it's the space around him opening up, the scenery around him is beautiful. I mean, the lighting and everything, it's such a place of peace. And I like that it's not just a getaway. I like that it's not just a getaway either necessarily. It's his home, it's where he lives. It's the studio. So I think that's really telling in and of itself too. The fact that you're kind of dealing with everything, but at a place of peace, and it's just your home. So that's really incredible. As far as the lyrics, I mean, everything in here was really deep. And the strange thing is, as calm as the vibe is in the production, and certainly how soothing the vocals are, the lyrics are actually rather dark and kind of still balancing that turmoil, that inner turmoil. So it's, just as Nick had said, I do kind of wonder about the track list and kind of where this lands in respect to the journey that he's telling. But it feels like it's heading in the direction of a really healing journey for the trilogy of Agust D, I would say. And I definitely, really like that, especially, everything that we had seen, even the behind the scenes of like the Dechita and everything like that, and just kind of how layered, the video was and the lyrics and everything like that too. So just knowing that you're representing that same persona within, the confines of this, I just thought he did it incredibly. Like, I love how he talked about essentially feeling like he wasn't loved as a kid and everything like that. It's again, like kind of just knowing like the humble beginnings and everything you had to go through, saying that the first love was, the piano and everything. So it just ties like so many kind of elements together in that regard too. I really like how he said like, the calmest waves were like something that would crash a sandcastle. Like basically just the slightest disturbance would have like, been the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. Kind of fighting with, that chip on your shoulder and everything like that. And then again, him literally going through all the issues with his shoulder and everything too, which ironically, sadly too, of course, is, he actually had re-injured the shoulder around the time of COVID as well. He had talked about that in Suchita, I believe, with Jim, where he was talking about Black Swan, as far as like, the move that you kind of strut your shoulder for the hook, or at least leading into the hook, if I'm not mistaken. But basically just knowing he literally had to heal his shoulder. He was still going through all the turmoil. The entire world shuts down, essentially. So it's like, even if you were planning to kind of drop a journey of your healing, through this character, imagine like the pandemic hitting and essentially like resurfacing all those things that you had kind of buried before, or at least tried to. So I can't imagine, even just what that must have meant. And, again, the journey that BTS had to go on along with that, as far as, being lights for others, with so much darkness around and everything. So I like that, this video is so highly, I don't want to say saturated necessarily, but just so exposed with the lighting. It just really shows that he's in a good place. He's in a calm place. And I like, too, just knowing that Agust D's, like, the songs themselves have been rather, like, on the dark side, of course, because he's having to expose all that. So, and not having heard, People Part 1 or anything like that, and honestly, I don't even know, like, how directly it would correlate if it does. But I like that, too, People Part 2, like, he's still alone and everything like that. Like, just, with his dog, which was absolutely adorable, of course. But I like that, too. It's like, because at the end, how he had mentioned the pandemic and everything. So when you get to that place of talking about people and kind of, like, no one around you at the same point, I think it's ultimately, like, a healing side of that. So if, like, the first version was a little bit more darker, like, cynical, perhaps, towards people, I think that this is a little bit more optimistic, even though the lyrics are still, kind of balancing those things. Toting that line. Almost kind of reminds me a little bit of him and RM Strange as well, where they basically call out like the things that are
shit. I love
things that are
Strange.
strange. Kind of between these two, kind of balancing that that positive connotation and negative connotation of something. So I thought everything he was doing here was really beautiful as well. I just and certainly credits to, for one, his vocals absolutely, and certainly IU's as well. I think they really pair incredibly together, and again, seeing the dog was adorable too. But yeah, I guess just to wrap up my part, seeing him in the studio, it's his first love. It's it's what's surrounded by him, and the shot that Zach had pointed out as well, where he's basically just laying in bed, kind of got the headphones on, his eyes are closed, he's at peace, he's zoning out. Like, it's just, that's so, it feels so good to see him in that good spot, especially. And again, just knowing that he's not doing this just as Suge, but as Agust D himself. So I just think that's really incredible in and of itself. So.
Yeah, him laying on the bed reminded me of Dr. Dre on the Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
How he was on there. You did bring up some interesting points, because I was thinking about that when the video, well, really even before the video came on. All the Agust D content is more so sometimes like a lot of pain, turn up, and kind of, I don't want to say like we equate it maybe like the struggle rap. It's definitely like on a certain type time. So for him to be as tamed on here as he is, and even aesthetically and everything, you mentioned a good thing as far as like it's seeming like maybe Suge and Agust D are at a peaceful juncture. It's almost like when Naruto teamed up with the Nine-Tailed Fox. If y'all know, y'all know.
Learning to like live with each other, kind of. Honestly, no, it's funny you just said that too, because that actually brought me to another thing, Babadook. learning to kind of live, you know, with the proverbial, you know, demon or something
demon.
like that. It's interesting. It's like you acknowledge that they have to exist to a certain degree because it's part of, you know, ultimately what makes you who you are. That inner trauma, you know, everything that you kind of went through, you had to amass a certain amount of strength to fight through it. And it's basically if you ignore it, it kind of can leave, you know, a little bit behind as far as like everything you really had to go through to get through that. And there's strength in that as well. So I do think it's really impressive. And honestly, just, again, a real journey of healing. And I really can't wait to see how it ties into the rest of the album. But I think that's a great point you brought up as well. Just kind of, you know, learning to live kind of with that darker side of yourself.
It's interesting. Well, not interesting too, but it's, if there was ever any time for you to face your demons or for you to be, you know, to self-reflect and gather your thoughts and really learn yourself, COVID was that time. Like, you know, a lot of people really took that time to change up things that they wanted to change in their life or to adjust everything. So it's very interesting now to see a lot of the members from BTS in 2023 just now being able to get like they COVID bars off.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's just like I believe they had said at the Festa, if I'm not mistaken. I know they had alluded to it before, of course, but basically where they're able to talk about things only after they had gone through them and healed. You know, just like arguments and such, like things that, you know, they would feel in the moment, allow them to kind of run its course, get over that, and then basically when they're in that place where they've healed, then they'll comfortably talk about it. As opposed to like talk about things in the now. So it's really interesting too. And again, I think it really adds into context, you know, everything that they had done during the pandemic, just to know that, you know, you're hearing certainly from Jimin about this and now Yoongi, of course, as well. And I'm sure it's something that affected all the members, of course, and, you know, rightfully so, especially with, you know, the incredibly high pedestal that they're held to within everything. And even if they held themselves to that same standard, but just nonetheless how much that must have added to everything. So really seeing them basically talk about what that kind of meant to them, because, I mean, let's be honest, even if you were in a really good place and then the pandemic hit, I mean, you could have, you know, that could have been the most traumatic thing you had to go through. So just knowing that, like, all those things that he probably hadn't even necessarily healed at that time, at least wrapped up, you know, musically as a conclusion. Yeah, I can't imagine how that must have, you know, like, unearthed all those kind of feelings as well. You know, even saying like, you know, the calmest waves can like, you know, ruin the sandcastle, so to speak. So imagine, you know, the pandemic being like, you know, a hurricane or something.
I can only imagine, especially when you and your group are on top of the world. Y'all, you know, are really about to run y'all tours and everything, and then everything just gets shuts down. Like, you know, basically life gets pulled from underneath y'all. And, you know, if it affected people on a smaller scale, you know, essentially who just, you know, had to go to work and do everything. Imagine people who had to, like, you know, travel all over the world or do things where you really needed to be kind of out and about. Yeah. You know, it'll fuck everything up. He says it multiple times on here. He thought he lost everything. It could be, you know, not even just things about his career, family members and other things. So, you know, it's like you said earlier, it's really dark subject matter, and I'm glad like it's presented in a lighter way, and it looks to be some healing in the lyrics. But I fuck with this. This is nice. You can do a deep dive on this.
Yeah, definitely. I like how he also said that. He said, "I will." He was like, I like how he said too, like how he's talking about the positive connotations of love and everything like that, and basically again, you know, talking about people, like you would say that like love is one of the things that makes us human or brings out the humanity in us, perhaps. So I think it's interesting too that he basically calls out that it could be a little bit of selfishness as well, where it's like even if I'm doing something out of love or something that's ultimately like a greed kind of deep down, or at least he's kind of looking at it through that lens to say that it could be something that is ultimately selfish in a sense. So I think it's interesting kind of trying to separate the positive and negative connotations, just like we had talked about with Strange, where it's like kind of looking at some of the darker side of positive things and perhaps some of the positive sides of darker things. So it's an interesting kind of yin-yang sort of subject matter to kind of navigate between.
I think it is yin yang type shit though. He says it when he goes into the end. Like this track is literally him talking to himself. Yeah. So whether that's Agust D talking to Suge or Suge talking to Agust D, yeah. I'm getting those type of vibes from just even watching it again and shit. But I've talked enough. Anything else you wanted to say? Anything else you want to get off?
I guess the last thing I'm gonna really say is I like how they had kind of the mirror shot in there too, because you know how mirror shots are often like you might see like the steam on like a mirror, or like, you know, those kind of cinematic references to show like a clouded version of yourself, or you know, some sort of disorientation between, you know, the present you and the, you know, the current you. I mean, we even saw it in the like crazy video with Jimin and everything. So mirror duality is always like really important in film and everything, but I like how clear and everything the mirror was in those shots when like they're looking at each other. Like it feels like they're seeing each other almost for the first time as well. So I thought that was interesting, and again, you know, just wondering kind of how that will tie into, you know, the track list. I am interested too, because at least to, you know, my perception of things, I don't know exactly when, you know, because we had always seen Agust D as, you know, the long kind of gold hair, or actually no, I'm mistaken. Give It To Me, I believe he also had dark hair, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just kind of interesting for me, at least, trying to kind of unpack some of the symbolism between the two. But it's, I mean, he's really telling a great journey of, you know, just healing and everything. And I do want to say too, I really think the video, you know, portrayed that incredibly well also.
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something. Even with the mirror shit, and just to double down on the mirror stuff, the mirrors also are a good way of being like, you know, some people probably like the mirror world or mirror people, but yeah, being able to kind of, like you said, show duality. God tier movie, yeah. But it just shows great duality, and sometimes you're able to kind of show two personalities in one MV, and I feel like shadows and the mirrors help out a lot. So I think it's no coincidence that you see all of that multiple times throughout the MV. But yeah, I'm good. Anything else you want to put it over there?
The dog was adorable.
Like, comment, subscribe, hashtag Redeemers. Let us know how y'all feel about this. Y'all better be subscribed. We just were dropping some gems. But you know what I want y'all to do? I want y'all to drop some gems. Go in the comments. Tell us how y'all felt about this. Give us any of the theories. Mind you, this is a raw reaction. So if y'all know a little bit more information, feel free to let us know in the comments. Also, jump on the Patreon. So many Sketchy Todd Jones are going to be up on there for you guys to enjoy and watch. YouTube has been blocking a lot of stuff, especially like a lot of the gym and stuff and some of the Agust D stuff. So if you guys want to go on there to help support the channel, we would appreciate that. Love you, Army. We're going to holler at y'all.
Love y'all.
Peace.